Hello viewers from the Nurburgring once again. This is NLS 8, a 4-hour race. Behind me you can see Jimmy's about to go out for qualifying, but here is what happened yesterday. So firstly, of course, getting ready, getting into the car. Now I was first into the car in fairly damp conditions, as you can see. So this was just an opportunity to warm up the car, make sure everything was fine after last race. If you watched that video, yes, we had quite a lot of damage on the car, so we just had to make sure everything was fine. And I was just wanting to make sure that I wasn't pushing too hard because we were on the wet tyres and the track was actually not really that wet. You can see it's kind of a bit of a mix, half and half. So I had to stick to the wetter parts of the track where I could, but I didn't want to destroy those tyres, so I brought the car in quite quickly to change over to the slicks before heading back out onto the track. So the track was actually drying pretty quickly. And it was only really turn 2 that was a bit wet. This is turn 1, Porsche getting right out of the way. And normally these Friday morning practice sessions are very relaxed. People aren't really pushing too much. And this was actually only the Nurburgring short GP circuit that we were doing, not even the Nordschleife. Bit of a slide there. Then a little bit later on you see this M4 GT4 going past. I was actually trying my hardest to try to keep up with this car. Obviously it's in a much higher class, it should be a lot quicker. You see the amount of power it has compared to my car. But through the corners I was doing a somewhat decent job of trying to keep up. Now of course we don't really know how hard that guy is pushing. It is the morning practice and people don't really go too crazy in this session. But look at the difference in speed, it really is quite incredible how much faster some of these cars are. And that isn't even a GT3 car. Up into the chicane, which was getting quite dry by this point, just getting a bit more confident in these mixed conditions. It's actually quite amazing how fast you can push on slick tyres even when there is some moisture on the track. So keeping up with this car for the best part of half a lap there, which is probably the most interesting thing to have happened. So I did about 15 to 20 minutes in that session in total before bringing the car back into the pit lane to hand it over to our new driver coach. So 2 years ago I went to the Nurburgring for the very first time and I met this guy, Nico Bastian, a professional driver for AMG and for Bilstein, and we decided to put him into our car to give us a benchmark and to also give us some tuition. This would be really a fast track way to improve our speed around the track. Okay, Nico's going out, he's going to do some reference laps for us. So after Nico had done a lap and we had each done a lap as well, we sat down with him to go over what we were doing wrong. And for me, the main thing was braking. I simply wasn't pressing the brake pedal hard enough. You'd be amazed just how hard you need to press these brake pedals to really maximise their potential. And that's just one thing that I'm coming to terms with in this car. So that was the main thing that I could improve upon and that I would look forward to trying in the afternoon session. But yeah, it was a really good experience here to have Nico on board in our team, and it really does help having a professional driver coach who can really quite quickly point out what you're doing wrong and show you the fast way to success. Okay, with Misha sleeping, the car was ready for the afternoon practice. You can see we brought out the wet tyres because just as Nico Bastian finished his stint, it began to rain. So as I climb into the car and out onto the track for my session, you see quite clearly it's very wet. And Nico went out initially to try to set a reference lap. He managed to do that in the dry conditions. But here for me, the rain was coming down. So this was very much a session of really just learning this set of tyres, the Michelins, in these kinds of conditions, because I had not driven these conditions before on these tyres. So there's a lot of learning to do, and you know, the rain is something that is very common around the Nurburgring. It was bound to happen at some point, and so any lap here in these types of conditions is very useful. It's very hard to know exactly how hard you should or shouldn't push. Quite a lot of the cars, as you might be able to tell around me, were going quite slowly, being being rather careful. I didn't know what tyres they were on or whatever, but it felt like I was on a decent pace. And visibility, as you can see, comes at a premium when you come up behind another car. So this was another M240i. This is at Hoa Acht, and this is a very cool section of the track. Just trying to find a way past, and I felt like it was a good idea to include this Friday practice session because it kind of just shows you a valuable part of the weekend as you build up towards the race. As we find confidence here to go past this guy up the inside, and the wet weather is really about just finding the grip, and often that means going off of the dry racing line. But here you see the lack of visibility down the back straight. Probably need to turn the air conditioning on to get rid of that. Now this was quite a scary moment. This was the very last corner of my stint. On this left-hander, it just shows you the lack of grip as I have a massive oversteer moment. Thankfully managed to gather it up and avoid a very embarrassing moment, and just on cue we bring the car in to end the session. I was in the wet.
I hated it.
It is seriously stressful when it's wet. You have no idea how much you can push, how much you should push, so it's good that we got some experience in that. Tomorrow though should be dry. So there goes Jimmy for his first time lap in qualifying. And I think qualifying is important because we need to get higher up. Last time we were at the back. The field spread's pretty big. I'm going to be going out last for qualifying because I'm going to be starting the race again.
I didn't win it in the qualifying, so I think I'm the real winner here.
Misha's the real winner, but Misha's going to do the middle stint of the race. He's going to get us a good sort of 5-lap lead, and then Jimmy will bring it home at the end. I'm going to be starting. Okay guys, we are 4th on the grid, gearing up for the race start now. Quite a lot of fans just coming out to the car just now, so quite a lot of photos and lots of messages. So I just want to say thank you to all the best fans out there. But yeah, 4th on the grid, podium possible therefore. Okay guys, a bit further up on the grid this time. I can see 3rd place over there, 2nd place and 1st place is a little bit up here. So we're a lot closer towards the podium at the start of the race. Okay, into the formation lap. Now, formation lap is actually quite a sedate thing. You drive around very slowly, usually, and it takes about 20 minutes to do because you're driving so slowly. And it's not until the back straight where you actually start warming up your brakes and your tyres before getting into formation as we are here. Now we are 4th in our class. We're in the V2T or VT2 class up against other BMW 330i's, amongst some other cars as well, but mainly the 330i's are the one to watch out for. And as the lights go green, the race begins. 4 hours here at the NLS 8 race. And this is one of my rivals, the blue and white car. Look up the inside, and it was getting quite narrow, so I thought better of it. I didn't want to risk anything too stupid on the first lap at the first corner. And I know they say you can't win the race at the first corner, and that is pretty much true. And I wasn't going to try and test that out. Now here, I almost got past this guy with the orange wheels, a very fast car, and actually the number 1, the champion from last year in our class. So if I can get anywhere near that guy, then I'll probably be doing quite well. Now I kind of got a little bit hung out to dry there by this Porsche and another car, the Scirocco, so I lost a handful of positions, and there were now a few cars between myself and my main rivals, but at least I hadn't lost a position, so I was still in 4th, and the car wasn't damaged, so that is always a bonus. Now as the temperature of this weekend was a lot lower than NLS 6 and 7, the car was actually responding a lot better. This was something we suffered from in the last race. The car was overheating and it really felt like we were losing power. But this time we worked out a couple of tricks to alleviate that and to stop that from being such an issue, and the car definitely felt a lot better this time around. So as we head around towards the chicane, settling into position here in the queue, into the final chicane before the Nordschleife, looking for one position possibly. The Porsche in front covers it off and there's no chance of gaining one more place. But unfortunately I was about to lose a position because of a very innocuous error. just wasn't really concentrating, looking in the rearview mirror, and I just get up on the curb, onto the grass, back onto the track, and crucially losing a position. Now, it wasn't in our class, but it was a car that I felt like I should be quicker than, and throughout the course of this lap, this Hyundai was one that I probably should have been in front of, as I felt like I was definitely losing time to the cars in front. So the main rivals I was up against were just slowly beginning to pull away, and it was quite agonising as I had to wait until the Dottinger straight to actually have a chance of really going for this move. And in the slipstream, it wasn't too difficult a job to do, but the most painful thing was the damage was now done, as I was a good sort of 5 or 6 seconds at least behind the group. And we can have a reference here. As we look forward, you see the 3 cars just around the corner there, maybe 5 or 6 seconds ahead. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much time we lost there on that one lap alone, which was very frustrating. But this lap here was about to be my fastest lap I've ever done around the Nordschleife, plus the GP Sprint, so the configuration we're using here. My previous best in the last race was a 9:40, and this one was about to be quite a lot better. So using some of the tuition and guidance we got from professional driver Nico Bastian the day before, plus the fact that the car was improving in the conditions and the setup was better, everything was seeming to come together here to lend itself to getting a better lap time. Now, it was quite frustrating that I was on my own and I couldn't really race against anyone, but the real race here was just against myself and just trying to keep up the best I could with those cars in front. So really just maximising the track here through the Hatzenbach section, as we then drop down towards Flugplatz, which is really a corner of bravery and just really trying to keep the minimum speed up. And the car felt really good. The grip felt nice here on this opening lap, as we have nice clear air and no overheating to worry about. Through Swedenkreuz, again feeling nice and comfortable through there, not pushing to 100%, maybe about 90%, just to keep everything nice and safe. I felt some responsibility as being the driver in the car first, that I wanted to make sure the car was not abused too much, so that my teammates could actually get a good drive later on in the race. So through this section, just really maximising the track limits as much as possible, down the hill into Kallenhard, and trail braking in towards the corner, squaring it off and back on the power on the exit. This is a fun section here down the hill, and I was keeping it in 4th gear. This is something I was getting wrong I think last time, shifting down to 3rd for this corner, whereas keeping it in 4th actually is a much better option. Just keeps the rolling speed up, and the gear shift was actually not the best idea. This is actually something you can sometimes learn in Gran Turismo, where if you have a slow gear shift, then it's actually sometimes worth just staying in the higher gear to eliminate the gear shift. And that's something that was working for me here. Coming up the hill towards Mutt Curve, very fast sweeping left-hander, again keeping that minimum speed up and being nice and brave through that corner. I mean, that is also called Bravery Corner, and I can definitely see why that's the case. In towards Stahlstrecke, the corner just before the carousel, and again carrying that speed the best we can and just coming off the brake as early as you can. This is a very fun section, and this is another corner where I was keeping it in a higher gear, 5th gear through this left-right sequence up the hill, whereas last time around keeping it in 4th or shifting down to 4th, and that wasn't quite the right option, and I was just gaining a little bit of time at every corner, and that's something you have to do around the Nordschleife. If you can just start gaining a 10th on pretty much every corner, you're going to actually gain so much time by the time you've got around to complete the lap. A bit of a moment there through Wipperman, downhill chicane, so I still had to be mindful of that. We didn't want to lose control of the car through Brunchen, just dropping over the crest. The car just turning in nicely. Actually, it really felt like the temperature was lending itself to just a better feeling in the car overall. The car wanted to turn in a lot better than what I remember in the past. Into Ice Curve, going in nice and early, back onto the power, keeping it in 4th gear up over the curb on the exit. I was pulling away easily from the cars behind by this point. It was only really the cars in front that I was concerned with. There was no one really to look at in the mirror, other than the GT3 cars when they would eventually come round a few laps later. So onto the straight, you can kind of see a glimpse. Every time I came round onto the straight, you can see the cars in front, agonisingly in the distance, maybe about 10 or 12 seconds in front by this point. So it was quite agonising watching them battle just up in front, and it makes me wonder what would have happened if I could have stayed in their slipstream if I hadn't made that mistake on lap 1. But I couldn't really overthink that. I just really had to get on with it and drive the best I could. As we crossed the line here at the end of lap number 2 to round out my best ever lap of a 9:28 at this point, which was the fastest lap that this car had done up until this point. So as you can see here, we're going to see the reference there of the cars as we come out onto this back chicane. They had definitely got away, but not by a huge amount, maybe just a few seconds. So my lap times were good. I felt like I was confident that my pace was decent here. Anything in the 920s is decent. You can see the group every time we went through a code 60 such as this one. Agonisingly, once again, I could see the back of that group just in front. So I knew I was in good form here. You know, the top 3 in our class are very accomplished drivers and have been doing this kind of racing for a long time, letting the GT3 cars here through. And I felt like I was a little bit unlucky with the placement of the GT3s. They seemed to come through just before this straight, so I was losing quite a lot of time, because if they overtake you on the straight, then you don't really lose anything. If anything, you might gain from slipstream. The same applied to the Porsche Cup cars, and they often come through in a massive group. So I had to get out of their way, and I was losing a bit of time. And I think the group in front of me that I was chasing down, well, they got overtaken on the main straight once again. So I was kind of just a little bit unlucky with traffic, I think. But at the end of the stint, I felt very happy with it. Yes, there was that mistake on lap 1. Overall, it was fairly consistent. The pace was good, the best pace I've ever done, and so I couldn't be too unhappy with it. Bringing the car in after my 1 hour, 3 hours left in the race, Misha would be next up, and there he is.
Check.
Good job, mate. Well done.
I mean,
Top 3.
yeah, not celebrate yet, but and one of the top guys is stuck before the pit lane. He ran out of fuel.
Oh, really?
So maybe, yeah, we'll see.
Okay, good stuff. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
So it's pretty wet here in the pit lane, but that doesn't mean it's wet everywhere, so it's really hard to judge what to do. Alright, Jimmy's in for his last stop. This is it, from here to the end. It seems a bit drier now, so I think that should give him a bit more confidence. Come on, Jimmy, bring it home, mate. So guys, I haven't updated you on an animal fact from Misha.
Yeah, absolutely. I just would like to say that the mantis shrimp is absolutely my favorite animal. Not only its claws extend.
So we were now into the final hour of the race, and pretty much immediately after coming out of the pit lane, Jimmy was thrust into the battle for third. So in fact, at this very moment in time, he was in third place. As we head through turn 2, a Scirocco is going to head through on the left hand side. There he is. Jimmy's going to cover to the left as we head into the left of turn 3, and on the right hand side you can just see the blue and white V2T BMW 330i, and that is our direct competitor for third place. So Jimmy has just been overtaken. We are now in fourth place. So we had no idea if we could finish on the podium at all in this race, but quite clearly now, in the final hour of the race, it was definitely possible. Now Jimmy lost a little bit of time here, getting back past that Scirocco, as the 330i in front just managed to gap him slightly. And then later on in the lap, heading up the hill towards the carousel, the think Jimmy got a little bit unlucky here, having to check up behind this guy in the Renault, and that was quite crucial. It lost him a fair amount of momentum going up the hill. And then this guy was, well, quite all over the place, definitely slowed Jimmy down quite a lot. Eventually he was able to get past, but the damage was done by this point, as by the time we get to the dotting at the end of the lap, the gap was up to 5 seconds. He's right on him now, guys. Come on, we can get this podium. Final lap, this is it, guys. Come on, Jimmy. So for the entirety of this final hour, the gap seemed to hover at 5 seconds for all of it. But very suddenly, on this final lap, Jimmy managed to catch up, and it all seemed to happen very quickly. We thought that the chance was gone. He couldn't seem to catch up with this guy. But then we really do not know what was happening. He seemed to have some sort of issue and was driving quite slowly. As you can see, Jimmy was suddenly all over him, looking for this podium position, heading down the hill here towards the foxhole, looking up the inside. The track is obviously very narrow, it's very difficult to go for the move. But suddenly, this guy started indicating and let Jimmy go. It was really strange, and we were suddenly in third place. Now, I'm going to have to pause it here and let you know that you should probably watch this on Jimmy's channel, obviously after watching this whole video. But back at the pit lane, we just really had no idea what was happening.
You got it. He's done it.
Yes.
Okay, apparently we're in third now, so Broadbent's done it. We're going to wait for him to cross the line though. There goes the leader in our class. That's second.
I cannot believe it.
He's done it. He's done it.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah! Yes!
We got a pizza.
Good job.
Water. Oh my god. Mega performance. This is the GOAT.
This is the GOAT right here. This is the GOAT. Pieces for all the mechanics. Good times indeed.
Did you know you can tune a car, but you cannot tune a fish?
James Broadbent, Steve Brown und Michael Charudin. E330i, das S und an Tobias Jung und Michael Eichhorn. Herzlich
Get in there, Lewis.
There we have it, guys. The end of an epic weekend with a trophy. We're on the podium. I've got to say, this is it's mind-blowing, really, to be here racing, to have the chance to do this. Best track in the world, scariest track in the world, to get a podium on our pretty much our second weekend or our third actual race is kind of crazy. It really is. So I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for watching this. Thank you to Black Falcon, who have been absolutely mega in preparing the car and making it even better than it was last time. And of course to Bilstein for putting this whole thing together and making it happen. We've got to give a massive shout out to Misha and to Jimmy. We had a clean race today, no incidents really. I mean, a couple of minor moments, but brought the car home. And Jimmy, I must give a special shout out to, because his final stint there, to catch up and to get the podium, get the third place on the last lap, was absolutely mega. He might just be the GOAT. Okay guys, I'm at Brands Hatch. This is the day after. You might have noticed that Jimmy wasn't in the photos because he had to leave early. Well, I've got his trophy. Let's go and give it to him.
There you go, mate. Well done.
Look at that. Third class.
All right guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you next time.